Guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gimp Olymp, and I am here with a special treat for you all. I've got A&A Arnhem 44 Operation Market Garden by Cadet Games. It is all set out in its beauty and ready to go in front of us. We're going to jump onto this. Now, this does say that it's 3 to 4 hours of gameplay, but I'm playing it solitaire and I'm recording it, which means it's going to take more than that for me. I doubt I'm going to film all of it. I almost guarantee I'm not going to film all of it because I just don't have that kind of time. But I hope I can get through at least a couple of the turns so you guys can see how the game plays. Now, I've already got the setup going. And as you can see, we've got our little setup boards here that tell us what units start. So it says turn 1 for these units. The allies actually start with a huge amount. So their airdrops are represented. We've got the 101st. We've got the 82nd. We've got the British 1st Airborne, all spread across the map. I will show you those different locations. But you see they actually have a huge amount. This is 9 for the 101st, another 9 for the 82nd, another 6 for the 1st, I gotta call them the Red Devils. I think that I am right? That's the Red Devils? Is that that might just be their 1st division, not their 1st Airborne division. The Brits, right? They've got 6 infantry. And then there are 2 airborne artillery pieces, which have a little bit less, they have a little bit less range. They have ammo concerns. Since they're lighter, they're designed to be dropped in on paragliders, but they do have a couple of those on the board as well that they can use. The Germans, starting off with a hell of a lot less on the board. They have, about 5 infantry, 4 normal, just Wehrmacht infantry, and then they do have 1 of the SS Panzer Grenadiers on there as well. They do have a armor piece. Armor for them is just going to be represented by the Stug miniature. Then they also have recon and 1 of the flak 88mm cannons, which is great because that can be used as AA or just a shot, like shooting shit. So really cool to have that on the board. One of the things that I did notice though, like recon is represented by this miniature icon, but I think that's in reference to the Allies because their half tracks are their recon, and then something else is like their mechanized. And I believe for the Germans, what is that thing? The Puma, whatever it is, the thing that has like 6 or 8 wheels on it, wheels, not tracks, is their recon piece because they do have the mechanized half tracks as well. That was one of my kind of with this. I wish they had gone into a little bit more detail in the rule book on what units are what, because they have it shown here, right? What everything is, but it shows like mechanized infantry and recon, and they are very, very similar. But you see, they're both basically half tracks. Right, and the Germans have that wheeled vehicle, which I believe is their recon because they don't have anything else but this, right? The one that matches this silhouette, the mechanized. So that has to be their mechanized, which means the wheeled vehicle has to be their recon. That's what I'm thinking. Let's cross our fingers. I mean, if I'm wrong, it's not that big of a deal. We're talking about like a difference of 1 combat factor and a couple of movement points. So it's really not a huge deal at the end of the day, if I'm wrong. All right, so besides those pieces, we do have our 2 boards here. These are going to be used for combat. I showed this in our little overview. It's our attacker defender board, right? And we're going to put our tokens on there. It's actually really cool. They're these little number tokens that you will place down in different spots on the board to represent that you have units of that combat factor in the combat. So it makes it very easy to add up because combat is really simple here. It's a D6 on each side, and then you add up all your combat factors. That's it. Whoever wins, the difference between the hits applied is how many the loser takes, and they're going to take it in step losses or retreats. Defender can take it in retreats. The attacker's going to be taking that in step losses. You guys will see that as we get started into the game proper. Though, a couple more things to hit on while we're at it. Let me grab one of my little pieces here. Just in case you haven't seen one of these before, these little rondelles, right? So you have your mini and then you have the rondelle. This is basically 2 steps, okay? So the mini is a step, and the little rondelle is a step. If you lose a step, you're going to lose the rondelle first. So think of that as a counter, right? If that's a counter, that's its front side up, and then if it loses a rondelle, you're flipping it over, and then if it gets hit again, you're removing the piece just like you normally would. Okay, something else you guys might be noticing here is that I have some big red flags spread across the board. That does not come with this game. I'm throwing those out just to help me visualize it. So there are little small rondelle type counters that represent our drop zones. So we have drop zones for the 82nd, for the 101st, for the British. There's 4 of those that are going to be spread across the board. And that represents basically their supply points. That's the supply point for the airborne. There is another supply point for the rest of the Allied units. Off to the side, I'll show you that one here in a sec. And then Germans, all German units are considered in supply no matter what. Anywhere on the board, they're in supply, so they're good to go. The airborne, though, basically have a radius. They radiate out from these little rondelles, those little counters. But those counters are green, the map's green, and they kind of blend in. These big red flags, though, stand out. So that's something I'm doing just to help visualize that and give me a spot where I know, okay, that's where their supply point is. 7 hexes around from that is where my supply radius is for those units. Now, I get what they're going for with that. The airborne didn't have just supplies everywhere. They're dropping behind enemy lines, so you kind of have to worry about that. But in my opinion, I think the 7 hexes is just a touch limited. I don't know. Well, play testing we'll have to see, but it just seems like they're not going to be able to get very far. We're going to have bubbles, right? We're going to have a bubble of airborne here, bubble of airborne there, bubble over here, and one more bubble over here. And they're going to have to kind of stay within that, because if they get outside of that, they lose the ability to conduct attacks. They lose combat factor. They lose movement factor. They can become very much weakened. They can really only defend or move away. So they can only really operate in those areas. But regardless, that will make it easier for us to see on the board and me to visualize very quickly. Like, okay, I know 7 hexes comes out to about, yeah. So if they're operating close to that flag, I know they're good to go. All right, so tilting my camera way out here, this is the bottom right of my map. Now, I've technically got the map inverted, but I did that so I could have the necessary pieces over in this direction closer to my camera. This is where our other DZ is with some Allied units. You see a couple of little Germans in over there. But up over here, those 2 little hexes that have the white symbols next to them, those are the supply hexes for the rest of the Allied units, right? So any other unit that's not airborne for the Allies has to trace a line of supply back to there. Basically, they'll trace it to any road, and then once it gets to a road, it has to trace back to that specific road to be considered in supply. So they have it easier in a way, but in a way it also does make it harder, because if the Germans are able to kind of cut that off, that's Eindhoven right there, cut that off, all the units are going to be out of supply. So they would have to figure out a way to get back into supply. And up here, like I had showed in my unboxing, is the pieces, and this is why I've oriented the map in the way that I have. This is our terrain effects chart, game turn track, victory points are going to be kept track of here. And then we have our ammo counter tracker, and I'm still not 100% sure why we're keeping track of these. I mean, the airborne artillery pieces do have ammo counters. They can't fire willy-nilly. They have so many shots they can make, and then there needs to be more supply drops, which you guys will see in our air phase later on. But I haven't figured out exactly why we got to track those tokens after they use them. Yeah, we'll figure it out as we go. But I have to say, before we get started, one last thing. This is just a beautiful map, man. It is gorgeous. Look at this thing. It just looks so awesome on the table, and it's freaking massive. All right, this table I've got it on is roughly 5 feet by about 3.5, and I've got just a little bit of room left on the edges. So it takes up a fair amount of space, but damn, does it look good on the table. All right, so let's get ready to get started. We are going to conduct 10 turns, or we're going to try to conduct 10 turns. And during these 10 turns, we are going to have a card draw phase, an air phase, an airborne supply phase, movement phase, combat phase. Now, for our first turn, we're not going to worry about the air phase. That doesn't start kicking into the second turn, and then the airborne supply phase kicks in third turn. I'm also going to skip the card draw phase. Since I am playing this game solitaire, I'm going to handle cards a little bit differently. But for our first turn of the game, I'm not going to worry about cards at all. We're just going to go with straight gameplay itself. So we will be picking up in the movement and the combat phase, just the basics of it. The Allies are going to go first. So the Allies will conduct their actions, and then the Germans. Also, just an FYI, it is a full game turn. So if I am reading this right, and I do believe I am, the Allies are going to go first, and they're going to do all of this, right? So they're going to do the whole thing. Then the Germans are going to do their turn. So it's not going to be like the Allied movement phase and then the German movement phase. No, Allies are going to go all the way down top to bottom, and then the Germans are going to do the same, with the exception of, stuff like supply that the Germans don't have to worry about. So let's go ahead and get ready to pick up on the Allied turn. We're going to start with our movement phase. When it comes to the movement phase, we do have some rules that come into play. Not too much is going to affect us right now. Stuff like armored, recon, mechanized, self-propelled artillery, they are not actually able to go into forest or broken or rough terrain unless they've actually got a road or a trail that's going through it. That's not going to affect the Allies because they don't have any of those units on the board just yet. You do have the ability to always move at least one hex, no matter if you've lost movement points for whatever. If you have certain restrictions, out supply, whatever it is, you are always able to move at least that one hex. The only movement that you can't do is you cannot move directly from one enemy zone of control into another enemy zone of control. You have to move out and then back in, and that's always in effect. All right, so I'm going to start down here in the center. I think this is the 82nd. No, these are 101st Airborne. Where's the 82nd? Okay, the 82nd's back that away. Let's see, I think that's... Damn, I don't know which way north and south is. I'll have to figure that out. I kind of peeked ahead. I know I'm going to have some German reinforcements coming in over in this direction, and then there's going to be some there on the far left. But basically, we get victory points for the Allies by taking out German units and getting units across certain rivers. And those rivers, we need to get them across are generally in that direction, that way. So I want to guard certain areas. There's not much I can do here just yet. There's no Germans in the area, but they're coming. So I'm kind of thinking I might stack up some units maybe in this town here, guard these crossings for the moment. That way, as I get more Allied units, I can funnel them in the direction I need them to go. Oh, and FYI, the units are listed down as a specific X. So it's like right here's the drop zone. But when you're placing the units there, you only place one infantry unit there, right? So they can be placed in the drop zone hex or in the surrounding hexes. So that's why they look all spread across. All right, so the infantry have 7 movement points normally, but they just dropped in this turn. So that leaves them with 3. They lose 4 movement points for the drop in alone. What is this? This is rough. That's 4. Damn, they can't even go in that. Woods are 2. I guess I could bring them around this way. So I kind of want to get into this city. Town is 1. All right, so I'm going to bring him around. We're going to go 1, 2. That burns up his 3 movement points. And that is rough. That's not rough. That's something else. That is broken. That is 3. Shoot. Okay, that's fine. We're going to go here. We're going to bring this guy over. And you do have a stacking limit, 2 infantry, 1 armor, and 1 artillery, I think is what can go in there. And then infantry equivalents. So things like recon or no, recon doesn't count, mechanized. That's what it is. So you could have like 2 infantry, or you could have 1 infantry and 1 mechanized, or 2 mechanized, but you are going to have those limits. All right, the other guys we're going to move up with. This is a trail, so that's 1. He can follow the trail all the way. He's going to go 1, 2, 3. Same with this guy, 1, 2, 3. And I'm knocking stuff around. All right, so I got them in their places. I'm leaving that little artillery piece there. And unfortunately, normally artillery pieces have a range of 7 hexes. The airborne ones only have a range of 4. So they have a smaller range, a little bit less punch, and limited ammo. That's what that little stack of counters is. That's an ammo stack. They do drop with 3 of those counters though. So he starts with a little bit. And that gets used up in defensive use or offensive use. And I think we're going to do the same thing. I kind of want to guard this bridge area over here. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put him there just in case. We're going to go 1, 2, and there's a road here, so I can go 1. Can go there for 2. Where do we want to go? We're going to bring him around over here. I'm going to kind of spread him along, trying to cover this whole area. All right, we're going to hit the 82nd up over here, and sadly enough, they are just out of range to attack this German infantry. I was almost wondering maybe it's better to just pile them in and just go on the defensive with these guys, and I think that's the route I'm going to go with it, because I was thinking about moving up and attacking these German infantry, trying to clear them off the board, because I could attack them individually, but I can only reach this 1 and still be able to get an attack off. If I go any farther, I'm out of range and won't have supply. And if I understand the supply rules on this, there's no supply phase, right? So there's a supply phase when it comes to the drop, but there's no actual like supply phase to determine if a unit is in supply or not. So I don't believe it works that way. It just says that I have to maintain the 7 continuous hexes from the drop zone. So I think they go out of supply if they leave it. It's not like they can dip out, attack, and then dip back in on the next turn, which I would do with them if it worked that way, but I don't believe it does. You guys let me know if you know down in the comments if it works that way, but I don't think it does. And you know, honestly, I was sitting there thinking about I might just push up and do 2 attacks, but it would be a struggle to get the guys there. Their movement points are already reduced, and it looks like the best I could do is get 2 guys adjacent to them. But the way combat works in this, defending infantry are stronger than attacking infantry. So the best I could hope for is an equal fight if I use twice as many guys. So screw that noise. We're not doing that. We're going to kind of consolidate down here. That's the best we can do. Bring these guys around. Put him in the woods. And probably leave him there. And probably move these guys for the same. Where are we going to go with this guy? See, he's on the road. I kind of want to maintain the DZ, but I got to push on anyway. I was thinking I might bring him down, but if I bring him down, I'm just going to be pulling him back later, so screw that noise. We're going to dip him around over to here, and we'll pull this one in. So I got 2 in the city because they do defend a little better in the city than they do outside of it. All right, so these guys are consolidated up. These guys holding the woods in this little town here. What town is it? Ober or something? I don't know. All the names are upside down for me because I had to turn the map. So screw it. That's going to work for them, and we'll see for the Germans. We'll force the Germans to have to make a harder choice, because the best the Germans are going to get is now a worse situation. They're facing the same thing, but the terrain adjacent, they're having to attack into a city or attack into the woods from rough or clear terrain. That's not going to work too well for them. They might just gain this, or they could end run over here and try to go after the supply, because Germans are in supply everywhere. I'm going to have to keep that in mind too. Actually, now that I think about that, I'm going to move this guy to here, just in case he has to dip around to try to hold the supply. Oh, he could defend, but he's going to be defending weaker. Okay, so now we're going to get to see some attacks going on. This is the British down over here, and they're already in the Victory Point area. This is the Netter River, if I'm saying that right. This is one of the things that the Allies have to get units across to gain victory points. So they're already in a good spot. Their drop zone's right here, and they've got a couple of bridgeheads over there. That's Arnhem right there. But there's one lone German infantry over here. I want to try to take him out. They have an 88 mil gun sitting over there. Recon. I think that's the SS Panzer Grenadiers back in the corner, and a little Stug tank. I'll show you guys. Look at that tank. It's adorable. I love it, man. Whoever thought you'd call a Stug adorable. But I know I don't want to go attacking their armor. I want to wait and get some heavier weapons. But I do have a gun here, an artillery piece, and I will use that against this fool just to give me the edge. So if he goes there, and he goes there, we'll pull this one here, and we'll double him up over there into that hex. And yeah, we'll leave that there for now. Leave the rest of those guys there. So here's what we're going to do. These guys are going to attack here. They are attacking him. It doesn't matter. He's in woods. He is going to be stronger, but we are going to spend one of our ammo tokens to fire our artillery piece, which is going to add 3 to the combat. All right, I pulled the camera back a little bit so I could show you guys the combat boards and how this is going to work. So we have our results table here and the actual battle board here. This is where we're going to apply our hits. And again, it's just the totality of what happens here. And then you compare those results. This is where those numbers come into it. So the British have 2 infantry. They have 1 combat factor when it comes to attacking. And all their combat factors are listed in the rule book, but it doesn't matter anyway. It's listed here, and your little special rules are annotated underneath it as well. So it gives you all the information you need. And we also have our artillery piece applying its combat factor to it as well. Has that range of 4 hexes. So he gets to add his 3. The Germans have a single infantry at a value of 2 since they are defending. So this is how combat's going to work. You're going to total up all the attackers, all the defenders, and you're going to put your little counters here representing all the different forces. That's it. Then you simply take and roll 1d6 for each side and add the totality of these numbers together, and that's going to get your results here. All right, so let's roll our dice. Okay, this worked out very well for the British, and I just realized I rolled that off camera. I'll have to move it for the next one. Anyway, the British got a 5. Germans got a 1. That is bad. Bad for them. The German total is a 3, so we're going to put it here. They get a no hit. The British total is a 5, 10. Oh, if they got 1 more, they would have got 2 hits. Oh, that would have been great, because that would have forced them. It's the difference between these two is the number of hits the loser takes. Okay, so it's not like you, let's say our thing was here and this was here, that the attacker got 3 hits and the defender got 2 hits. It's not like they're each taking that many hits. There would be 1 hit going to the defender. Okay, so that's how it works here. You're looking at the difference in the totals. Here we're still applying a single hit. Now you can have circumstances apply where the defender doesn't get to just take a retreat as an option. They will have to take step losses instead. But they can take a retreat. Defenders, not the attackers. They can take a retreat to absorb one of the hits. Here, they only have a single hit, so the Germans will obviously retreat. So looking at our little board, we'll just back the Germans up a single one. And since they did vacate the hex, I could move up and occupy that hex. I don't want to for now. We're going to leave that. I want to stay relatively close. I kind of want to cluster the British forces in that direction, not this direction. So I don't want to get them too spread out. My hope was to wipe this guy out. That's why I spent the ammo hit, but it is what it is. And that's really it. That's the basics when it comes to the combat. I like it. It's streamlined. It's easy. Games like this, the A&A brand, is not meant to be difficult or brain burning or a whole lot of modifiers you got to worry about. It's just good, dumb fun with cool looking little mini counters all spread across the board. And I love it. Because sometimes you don't want to burn your noggin. Sometimes you just want to sit back, move some pieces across the board, roll some dice, and just have a good time. Anyway, we are ending the Allied turn with the British. They have their little foothold in their DZ. The Americans here have a good foothold. They've kind of taken control of this whole swatch. And then over in this direction is where they have tried to take care of, what is that? Eindhoven. Eindhoven's in that direction. Arnhem's in that direction. I don't know what that major city is. We'll pick up with the Germans, and I think I'm going to probably go a little bit easy, try to get the Germans into some consolidated positions and get ready to put strikes onto the Allied forces. The big thing for the Germans is just going to be pushing them back across the river. So if I can gain control of the bridges, those control points, I can push them back and keep them from gaining those easy victory points just by having units on that side of the board. The Germans do start to get heavy later on. The next turn, they don't get too much, just a few more units. But then turn 3, they start hitting heavy with a whole lot of units coming out. There's turn 4, turn 5, turn, what is that? No, that's 5. Oh, dude, it's split across 2 sides. Turn 5, turn 7, and then turn 8 is the last. But it does go up to turn 10. Same with the Allies. Turn 2, they don't get too much, just a few more British units. And they kind of get dribbed and drabbed in. It isn't until turn... Oh, damn. I was thinking that was later. Turn 2, the Allies start getting some armored units in. So the Allies do have a good chance of taking out the Germans, but the Germans have a great advantage in the fact that they have supply anywhere across the board. They just have to leverage that advantage. Don't forget, we are not done though. We still have the aircraft that get involved. Fighters and bombers for both sides. That is going to start taking into effect on the next turn. We will conduct a roll, and depending on the numbers of that roll, it will give a number of fighters and bombers to both the Allies and the Germans, and they can take those units and place them out across the board. If those units survive any incoming AA fire, then they can attack the ground units. So that can be a game changer as well. Anyway, you guys stay tuned. I will pick back up with turn 2 or turn 1 with the Germans, and we'll play a little bit faster since I won't be explaining as much on the next one. That's going to be it for me. You guys take care. I'll catch you in the next one.